It's night over here, as you can see. And in this video, I want to explain the following. Society will never tolerate you being free. Never. For one simple reason. When you are free, commoners can't control you. Commoners can't blackmail you. And there's one thing commoners really get angry at, and that is when they cannot control you. When commoners can't control you, they lose their minds. For real. So, let me give an illustration to you. You have this guy called Patrick. Patrick makes music. He makes music videos. Patrick is talented. Patrick is reaching people on Instagram, on YouTube. Oh, Patrick is doing his thing. But now we have people from Patrick's past that can't stand Patrick because Patrick doesn't meet their conditions. Yet Patrick is significant in the community. His songs are on the radio. What's going to happen now? All those people that can't stand Patrick, they now are triggered in pain every time they encounter Patrick's glory. His songs are being played. People are dancing on his music. Now, people are not dancing on their music, and if they openly say at the party, oh, I can't stand it, Patrick, who does think he is? People tell them, shut up, man, we're enjoying the music. So, their negativity is not relevant. And this makes them boil on the inside. So now they begin to lie about Patrick. They conduct smear campaigns and all of that. And because they conduct smear campaigns now, you will have people thinking bad about Patrick, including a lot of people who don't do anything with their lives. And those people who don't do anything with their lives, they now joined this hating against Patrick. So now they will send letters to the radio station, stop playing the music of that guy. Now the radio stations are thinking, what? Who are these creeps thinking they can determine whose music we play over here? So after a while, when Patrick's influence increases, and Patrick doesn't allow others to control his mood, the original people that couldn't stand Patrick, as well as those that joined them, they now come together. They're all miserable because their expectations frustrated. And the only way out of this frustration is when they fulfill those expectations and face themselves. They don't want to do that. So, they don't want to do that. So what happens next? That they're miserable. That misery is haunting them. It disturbs their sleep. It makes them dysfunctional daily life. It attracts accidents and bad situations to them. So what they do now is they look for other people to meet who are just as miserable as they are, and they now begin to commit crime in the community. They begin to assault people sexually, they molest children, they rob certain people just like that, or they commit arson, they break stuff, vandalism. They're miserable because their will is not validated, and now they want to take vengeance on the community because they are miserable. And the only reason they're miserable is because of themselves. But they don't want to admit this. It's all Patrick's fault. Patrick's not even aware what's going on. Patrick didn't make him do any of that. Patrick was just making music, and they thought, oh, they want to feel good about themselves at someone else's expense because they have no self-worth. So they were pretending as if Patrick had no talent, Patrick was this and that. Now Patrick just moved on without them. And because Patrick's not even recorded anymore, because Patrick is so occupied with his projects, now they begin to boil, and now they need to smack others with their misery. That's how communists are in general. If they can't blackmail you, they're going to feel rejected because you don't allow them to control you, so they feel good about themselves. When you refuse this, they now want vengeance on you, and if they can't harm you, or either because it's too inconvenient, because harming you would bring retaliation by the community or by your relatives or by the government, or if harming you will bring vengeance from God upon them, what thing is going to happen then? They still want vengeance. It will take on someone else just so that they feel at ease. No, no such thing as honesty, no such thing as fairness doesn't exist. They want relief, just like crack addicts need their high to be at ease, so they'll get it. That's commoners. That's worldlings in general. And when you have a group of miserable people conducting misery crimes, the community is not going to be happy with it. So others will become miserable also because of that, and then they form misery groups to also conduct misery crimes. And then you'll have gangs of misery groups haunting the whole place. Nobody wants that. That's why society blackmails everyone into accepting its violence, so that everyone is under the violence of society, so that everyone is at ease. That's why you have taxes. A lot of people don't ask, why do we pay taxes? If the government is the one designing that piece of paper called money, how that looks like, and they're the ones printing it, why do we pay taxes if they're the ones producing the money? Come on. Anyone will look at this, will think this is crazy. If someone is at a fountain of fresh water, yet they expect you to come and bring bottle from supermarkets to them, you're going to think, hold on a minute, you're at the source of fresh water streams are 24/7, yet you want me to come with with bottles of water out of the supermarket? Anyone would say this is crazy. So why do we pay taxes? It goes like this. Commoners lack self-worth, they don't follow Christ, so they have no base for their human confidence. So their confidence comes from controlling each other, by controlling others. And if you are under the threat of violence, just like they are, they feel relieved. They're not the only one, and because of this, they feel connected to you. And because they feel connected to you, because you are threatened and violated, just like they are, now they will treat you better. If they are all violated, and you're not, you're just free, happy over there, they're going to think, who does he think he is? He's so happy. Instead of looking at why they are violated and why they are in that situation, instead of looking for a solution for this situation, they'll become angry at you. That's how they do it. So that's why you have taxes. The wizards know that commoners want relief by controlling others. That's why they come this thing called taxes. And if you pay taxes, you get a pat on the back that you've done your part. And now because you've done your part, even though you were violated, you feel relieved because you get a pat on the back. Now you are in a trauma bond to the system, and now you want others to also do their part so that you are at ease. Because if others don't do their part and they are completely fine, now you need to face you've been violated. And why did you agree to this violation? Now you need to look at yourself. And commoners lose it then. That's why when Peter, the apostle, the disciple Peter, was in town, people asked him, does your master, Yeshua, or Yahushua, does he pay the common taxes? Peter said, of course he does. When he came home, Christ asked him, Peter, from whom do the kings of the earth demand taxes? From their children or from strangers? Peter said, from strangers. So then the children are free. But because we don't want to cause offense to them, go to the lake, a fish will come out, you'll find a gold coin, go and pay for me and you. So what Christ was making plain was this whole system doesn't add up. But Christ didn't went in depth why this system exists to begin with. He just told Peter, we're not going to cause unnecessary trouble, so just go and pay. We will just tolerate this. Because if we pay, they can't blame us for anything, and they can't use it as an excuse to violate us. Not about the government, but about commoners. Because the Roman government was quite limited. But commoners, they hear, oh, you don't pay taxes, but we have to live under this threat? What do you think you are? Now, all they're paying is your fault. Now you need to die. That's how they are. That's how they are today also. So, those tax services are a blessing in disguise for believers. Because when we pay, the commoners have to shut up because, hey, we've paid. Let's see. So now you know why we pay taxes. Not because it's necessary, because governments don't need that money, because they're the ones paying the money. We pay taxes because commoners don't want to face themselves. That is how simple it is. So This whole issue of control, it's quite big. Commoners are all about control. It's a, let's say this, it's a psychic addiction of theirs that they develop. It's a disease that afflicts them because they're not born again. Only those who are born again can be redeemed from this disease by renewing their mind. And here's another thing, believers. This whole thing of taxation shows you how hypocritical worldlings are. You have this guy, this duke, or this prince, or this king, this guy with this royal title. He lives in this big palace with 20 rooms, and that needs to be maintained. And you have to go to work every day, and a part of your income is taken away to finance that thing over there. But when a fellow human being decides, you know what, let me start for myself, let me become more autonomous, now those same commoners would tolerate parts of their income for which they had to sweat be taken away from them for some prince or some duke in some palace. Those same will turn on you thinking, what do you think you are? Wait, so you don't become upset with that royal blue blood royal creep that's draining you, but you will be upset with your fellow man or fellow woman when they don't meet your expectations. First of all debt are hoaxes. Why? Because money is printed. It's just fiction. So the idea of debt doesn't even exist. Okay? But here's the thing. When you quote unquote owe someone money, they think they have the right to control you and the right to violate you and to harm you because you owe them something. But that money is printed, so it's fiction. So because you owe them some fiction, they think they have a right to do something to you. Why aren't they doing something to those royal creeps that are draining them and trampling upon them? They won't do it because they're cowards. That's what they are, cowards. There's no other way to describe it. They are cowards. So, believer, in this lifetime, we have to deal with that fiction called money. We have to. Don't let anyone think that just because you have to deal with that fiction, that they can use that fiction to control you. Don't allow anyone to do that to you. I don't care if you so-called owe them $10, 10 cents, or 10 million. It's just fiction at the end of the day. Because both individuals that claim you owe them money, they have a mortal body just like yours. If you don't get any oxygen, they'll die also. And when their bodies expire, it's Christ Jesus that will raise them from the dead. So who are they? Just because of that fiction, they have a right to have a will over you at your expense. Who are they? Never accept it. Because the moment you accept that mentally, you've opened up yourself for psychic violence to ruin you. Many of the things that afflict believers only continue because we agree with them. And why do we agree with them? Because we're invested in their satanic worlds. That's why. I'm walking outside now. There's fresh air, nice weather. A lot of people say, Rashid, it's past midnight. What are you doing? Me? I walk by faith. That's what I'm doing. I don't look for any trouble. I'm on God's earth. I'm an heir of the earth in Christ. I walk in His anointing, so I'm operating my freedom here. Come on. And I'm not near the homes of other people, so my voice cannot bother them. So nobody has anything to want over here. But don't you know that there are a lot of believers who wouldn't even dare to do what I'm doing now because they are frightened of what might happen? Even if there's no human being around who can harm them, they are afraid of something that might happen. Come on now. All right. This is a big crossroads. There's much traffic around now. Let me see that. I want you to see it. By the way, I'm in The Hague, the Netherlands, where the capital of the Netherlands, where the government of the Netherlands is seated. But Amsterdam is the capital. Why? Because it honors Helios, or also known as Apollo. So the only reason Amsterdam is the capital of the Netherlands is a ceremony to the beast. That's why. That's why the code of Amsterdam is XXX. Helios, Helios, Helios 666. So now you know that also. Mm-hmm. This is the egg. Oh, the small back. Listen, believers. There are too many things we just accept without checking what it is we are accepting. Look, we are in the world, okay? I know that. So if you are in Great Britain, you speak English. If you are in France, you speak French. So such things are practical. And when you're using the language, you use grammar and spelling correctly, or else someone may not understand what you're saying. So those things are practical. That you are in a public space where there are a lot of people that's a bit crowded, you lower your voice a bit. Okay, such things are practical. I can understand that. But society wants worship. Society doesn't want consideration, it wants worship. And if you don't give worship, so you don't surrender your all to allow society to control you and to kind of screw you over straight up, now you are in trouble. Come on now. What the heck? So, going to move here because there's a bit traffic now. I'm going to go back into the park because there's some traffic, as you can see. Okay. Less noise in the background. Believer, we should be considerate of our fellow human beings. That's true. I absolutely agree with that. What I don't agree with is that we agree with things that we don't examine. And it's time for believers to stop doing that. Because I'm telling you straight up, believers. If you, let me hold it like this. If you do not walk by faith, if you continue to agree with Satan, forget about miracles, forget about deliverance, forget about crossing the Red Sea, forget about overcoming, forget about all of that. Then you'll be stuck with psychic addictions and with violence of society haunting you till the day you leave this body. This reminds me of Jacob. God is called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let's talk about Jacob for a moment. Jacob was a scam artist. Yes, that is what he was. He used to scam people. That's how he got his income. He even scammed his own father to rob the blessing of Esau. You know, you can read about the story yourself. After that, he fled and he relied on his own understanding. So he was willing to work 7 years to get a woman. I was thinking, why work 7 years? If you can just ask the man, I want to marry your daughter, straight up. No, he wanted to prove himself. That's the thing with scam artists. They always have to prove themselves to compensate for the fact that they are liars. So Jacob ended up being scammed by his father-in-law. He got the sister to sleep with, so then he had to work another 7 years for the other daughter. So, long story short, Jacob ended up having to flee for his father-in-law Laban. And he ended up in a very bad situation because not only was Laban antagonistic towards him, Esau, whom he wronged, Esau's people were also coming after him. So he was in a very bad position. And then the Most High appeared to him. And the Most High began to wrestle with him. And now you may think, why would the Most High be wrestling with Jacob? Come on. Here's why. Jacob was a believer. He was born again. but he still had toxic thinking because he was scamming people. He lived as a scam artist. He operated as a scam artist instead of operating as a believer. So at some point, the Most High said, okay, enough. You want to be blessed, Jacob? You really want it? Jacob may play yes, yes, yes. So the Most High make it okay. If you want to be blessed, then you'll do it my way, because my way the blessing works. What you've been doing now is causing trouble for yourself and your household. That needs to stop. And when Jacob kept pressing, I want the blessing, what happened? The Most High hit him on his hip and he couldn't walk properly. Why would God do that? God brought that physical dysfunction on him so that he couldn't run away anymore. So now that broken hip reminded him, okay, no more fleeing, no more relief. I need to face things and overcome things. And since then, Jacob complied with justice and God's amnesty worked out for him. And things went in his favor. So realize this. Things did not went in Jacob's favor until he complied with justice. Are you following me now? So as long as Jacob was into scamming to be relieved, he operated in a curse and he had accursed consequences, even though he was a believer. The moment Jacob obeyed Christ and really walked by faith, things began to work out in his favor. So what can you see there? The Most High chastised Jacob. The Most High chastised Jacob and showed him, Jacob, I've been tolerating you to scam yourself out of trouble all the time, but the reason why you're in trouble all the time is because you're operating in darkness. You want me to continue with you? Then you'll do it my way. No more running away, Jacob. You're going to face things. And it worked. So believers, listen to what I'm saying here. I don't care how big the anointing is on your life. I don't care how many gifts you have from the Holy Spirit. I don't care how many Bible verses you know. If you don't really walk the walk, there will be no blessing working out for you. That is how simple it is. So, as believers, we need to obey the Holy Spirit. That means putting away the spirit of fear. Now, as human beings, we can feel that when there's danger somewhere. That's our inner radar. So when we feel that there's danger, contention somewhere, of course, we respond appropriately. For example, if in a community there's tension between groups, there's a gang war going on, you're not just going to walk into the neighborhood smiling with everyone. Why? That will be triggering unnecessary trouble. So you respond appropriately, but you're not operating in fear. Yes, we do consider what we are doing. Yes, we do consider other people, but we will not turn into reprobates. We will not. So, do you have any questions to me in this live stream? I can read the comments on the left of the mobile phone. So if you have any questions and you want to ask them, just ask me right now. Well, I'm walking here. Okay, let me see. Yes, baby steps in faith. That's what we ought to do. By the way, I intended to upload a recorded video, but while I was recording the video, it wouldn't save on the phone for some weird reason. That's why I ended up having to go live. And you know what? I'm glad I went live. So, okay. where the 144,000 are sealed. The 144,000, those are men from the tribes of Israel, whom God alone knows who they are. They get a special anointing by God, a very big one, to do God's will. That's who they are. And you don't know who they are because they're selected individually by the Holy Spirit Himself. Should you get a systematic job? Well, it depends. If the Holy Spirit leads you to a job, then you can do it. There's no problem with that. Of course, there are some jobs that you probably shouldn't do, like stripping um, uh, or as a prostitute and all of that. So there are jobs that you shouldn't do as a believer. But if it's a job that does not put you in harm's way directly, nor does it require you to put others in harm's way, you can do it. How to love those who want to harm us. This is how easy it is. You walk in love towards them, so you have a good attitude towards them. You wish the best for everyone, that's you. But you realize that not everyone is the same. So yes, you have an attitude of love towards them. You have unconditional goodwill towards other people. But you don't walk in that goodwill with them because that's not possible, because they're in darkness. And when they decide to become a danger to you, to take you out, you enforce repercussions to preserve safety. So you don't become upset, think I need to put them in their place, I need to pay them back. No. Why you take repercussions spiritually is to preserve safety and sanity for the community. That's how you deal with reprobates. Because they will be around till Christ returns. So believers, society does not want you to be free. They don't. So don't ever expect your accomplishment to be celebrated by society. Don't. And if you encounter believers who become mainstream celebrities, first thing first, are they really believers? That's one thing. Secondly, if they are believers, so they are born again, then they are compromised. It means they have been made ineffective by delusions they are believing in. Because any real believer that truly walks by faith will never be embraced nor promoted by society. Never. The only believers that are praised by the world are either fake believers or believers that they can blackmail because those believers are not really walking by faith. And such believers that are compromised are the believers that become what they call Christian celebrities. And they end up exchanging awards with Hollywood. Hollywood that's into transgenderism and worshiping Satan. How can those that worship Satan, how can you receive satanic awards as a real believer? Why would they even want to praise you? For what? Okay, one question more was about paying taxes. You're a taxpayer anyway because most of the things you purchase in a shop, you automatically pay taxes when you pay them. So it's not the paying of taxes that's a problem. I just explained to you why taxes are demanded of you and why people don't question it. So you know now why taxes exist. So you pay them when necessary as just a common thing because you're in the world, but you don't agree with his philosophy. And let's see, it's better for mortgage. I hope you don't need a mortgage because you can just own your home directly. But if you need one and it's practical to have one, you can have one. But I prefer all believers to own their own homes directly. There is no such thing as a rapture. Christ comes back once after the tribulation. This whole idea that Christ comes back secretly to get believers into the air is misuse of scripture, and it comes from the Catholic Church. There are many believers throughout history since Christ ascended to heaven went through horrible stuff. They were not raptured. So this whole idea of the rapture, by the way, rapture is a difficult word for rape. So why would you believe in that? Let's see. Now about this whole pandemic and this nano technology is going on, comes down to this. Those leftist elites who are devil worshippers, they want to reduce the world's population. That's one, because they don't want more believers to rise up and demand their part of the earth. So they want to kill off as many people so that less people have the chance to become born again and become believers. Because once believers begin to demand their share of the earth, they're finished. So that's what they want. And they want to bring back the Nephilim. Those are those demonic creatures that God destroyed with the great flood during Noah's time. There were some Nephilim after the flood also, but they're very tiny in today's population. But they want to bring back all those races of Nephilim that existed in Noah's time, including those things that are called dinosaurs. That's what they want to do. But in order to bring back those abominations, you can't have that many people on the earth because human beings and Nephilim don't go well together. So one needs to move so that the other can have living space. The whole serpent seed doctrine relates to sons of Cain, and that's not correct. The serpent seed literally refers to Nephilim beings in general. So now you know that. Any more questions? Now, what are dinosaurs and what are characteristics of a Nephilim? A dinosaur is a mutation of lizards that came into being when some heavenly princess in a metaphysical state raped female lizard animals, and out of them came those demonic creeps that we call dinosaurs. Now, some of those creatures that we call dinosaurs were just natural animals, but things like the T-Rex and those very ugly creatures, they're only demonic. God did not make them. And how do you recognize a human-like Nephilim? It's very easy. A real human being has an energy field that's in balance with the Earth's magnetic field. Nephilim are not in harmony with the Earth's magnetic field. That's why they need to drink blood and they need to feed off of humans literally in order to remain stable, or else they will literally fall apart. And because of that, they have some magnetic abilities that we don't, so they can morph, shape-shift, and all of that. But that's the number one thing you'll recognize the Nephilim with. They have no energetic balance. So you will recognize this when you're walking in the streets also. If you're a believer and you walk past a Nephilim, then you will see the Nephilim shaking and becoming frightened and even begin to fall apart. Reptilian race, referring to dinosaurs, just one race of Nephilim. Yes, all Nephilim are blood drinkers, all of them. Every Nephilim is. Now we have human cults that wants to pretend to be Nephilim, so they do also drink blood, but those are just creeps. They are out of their minds. Are elites. Real Nephilim, all of them drink blood. All. Let's see. Here's one thing. Yes, Susan, that's true. If, because the seed determines what the being is. If the male ancestry of someone is human, going back to Adam, that he or she is a seed of man, so they're human. If the male ancestry goes back to the fallen angels through their genetic manipulation, then it's a Nephilim, it's not a human being, and it's an abomination. It should have never existed. And about violence, all violence begins on a psychic level and it manifests on the physical. So if you walk by faith properly and you are operating in the anointing, then all violence remains at a distance because all negative energy bounces off of you. Physical violence is nothing but negative energy manifest in the physical. Yes, there has been Nephilim on the earth since the time of Nimrod, whose mother herself was a Nephilim shortly after the flood. But Nephilim after the flood they were a very tiny population and never could have grown and become so big because they would be killed. Jezebel, who was a daughter of Satan, was a Nephilim, a very cruel one, and the ancient Greeks killed her. Yet white women began to worship her. So let's see. Nephilim may be the reason why there's a lot of child trafficking. But as I mentioned before, Nephilim, now the Nephilim population on the earth now is very tiny. You may find them in Brazil, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, used to be called Zaire, I believe, yes. In the north, in very dense places with a lot more oxygen, you will find them over there. You won't find them just anywhere on the earth. Okay, okay. I'm going to answer. By the way, I've read the questions. I'm going to answer them now one by one. Then I'm going to close this live stream. Look, the whole 7 years tribulation, we don't know how long the Great Tribulation will take. We don't. Okay? So, unlearn about that. Secondly, about, let's see, what's the other question? Why do decree and declare daily? When you decree and declare daily, the only way you can recognize whether something is set up from the enemy or not is by looking at the context. I've made videos about that. Check the context. If you see a pattern, then likely it's not from God. Joanna's question. Let's see. And if a woman has a child by a blood drinking Satanist who's a human being, then the child is a human being. The child is not a Nephilim. Okay, because the seed of man brings forth men. That is a human being. Nephilim seed brings forth Nephilim. That's how simple it is. And that's why we need to be knowledgeable about stuff. And again, about Johanna's questions, look at the pattern. If you're decreeing and declaring, and something works out very quickly, but you sense that there's something coming behind it, then likely it's not from God. Just check the context. That's the way you see it. It doesn't have to be related to your decree nor declaration directly, even though it may have influenced it. Just realize that when things backfire on the community, it will happen in devastations in the community. Let's see. About that female believer someone met online that began to charge money for a session, cut it out. Don't talk to her anymore. I don't have a good feeling about this. So, okay. Well, believers, thank you for being here in this live stream. Just remember the most important thing to remember is that society craves control to ease the fallen mind of worldlings who are obsessed with control. Know how to bypass this, but don't fight it, because that would trigger unnecessary conflict and they could use it as an excuse to attack you. Do not get along with it and sense that you submit to it, because that would mean denying the power of Christ is in you. Use it in a practical way to turn it around as a resource to glorify Christ. So that's it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ and be at peace.